A lot of women feel like they have to justify their time, especially moms who work from home or stay at home, but women in general. I sat down today after taking my kids to school, thinking through my day, thinking how I could present it if my husband asked or if anyone else asked. How could I present this to look productive? In a society that values productivity, your desire to justify your time is burning you out, especially if you are a mom who is an indie, a creative, a freelancer, running her own creative business, you're self employed. You are contributing to your burnout by justifying all of your time. I say this as a recovering people pleaser, as someone who values the opinions of others. I'm an eldest daughter, millennial, and it's what I do, right? For those of you that are new here who don't know, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, or if you're new to my YouTube channel, welcome. I'm Candace. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of Washington, but in the online spaces, I am a coach and mentor and a creator. I am a creative individual, and so I have a lot to say about this topic because I've always been high achieving. I was late diagnosed with autism and ADHD, and motherhood forced me to drastically unmask because I couldn't be masked 24/7 as a mom. And something that I've learned, something that I really thought about today when I sat down and I started doing this to myself, how can I justify the way that I'm spending my time today? I realized this justification, this need to have a log of every minute of the day is something that not just me feels. I've seen it talked about on social media. I've had mom friends talk to me about it. And the people that I talk to are a lot of moms, but also just women in general. And this is something I just see women in general feeling like in the office, in public spaces, in their relationships. We feel like we have to justify every minute of our time. But I do speak a lot to moms, especially moms who are indies, freelancers, self-employed creatives, because that is the realm that I know. Yes, I run a private practice, and this coaching business has had its ups and downs as it's changed and evolved over time, but I'm also a creative, and that is where my heart lies. I want to create things. I want to create video content and audio content and written content about the things that I have inside, poetry, stories. I'm a fiction author, for those of you that don't know. And so I found this morning as I sat down and I was thinking through, what if my husband asks what I did today? What if he comes home and he, has questions and I didn't do a load of laundry, although we're almost caught up on that. If as caught up as a person can be when you're a mom of two and, whatever. Um, but I feel like I need the justification that I didn't just lounge or rest. But sometimes we need those rest days, which I just shared about on social media, that Sunday I took a day of intentional rest. But this need to justify every minute of our day is burning us out. It is causing us to not only do the things, but keep log of the things that we're doing so we can share that with people. So that when someone asks about our little business, we can share about how productive we've been. And I was thinking about it in terms of I was also thinking about it this morning in terms of I was thinking about a post I could share about moms who look around, work from home moms who look around and they notice the little tasks that need to be done and they think to themselves, is this a task that has to be done now? Or is this a task that I can do later so that I can focus on my creative work now? And that's really hard for moms that run their own businesses working from home, especially if those are creative businesses, writing, art, um, content creation, music, vocalizations, voice actors, things like that. Those of us that are doing things like those kinds of work are sometimes made to feel like it's less important, like other stuff has to come first. And so I was thinking about that. And then I sat down and started justifying my day to myself. And it is contributing to our burnout as creatives, as moms, as women who stay home. We I am a big advocate of your systems, your life, what you do with your time doesn't have to look like anybody else's. It doesn't have to look like the world. It doesn't have to make sense to other people. You don't have to justify why you didn't throw in a load of laundry before you sat down to write your next scene. You don't have to justify why you didn't unload the dishwasher before you sat down to paint your next print, to paint your next commission or your next creative piece. You don't have to justify why the kids' toys are still all over the floor that they left this morning before going to school. You don't have to justify why you didn't pick those up versus going to sit down to write a new poem or um, compose a new piece of music or whatever it is. We feel like we have to justify those things because we see in social media houses that look perfect. We see in social media houses that look magazine ready at all times. And I remember being a kid in the 90s and all of my friends' homes and my home, well, my home was a little bit of a different exception because it's, other circumstances. But on a whole, my home and my friends' homes looked a lot like my home does now. It looked lived in. It looked like people lived there. It wasn't filthy. It wasn't a disaster. There weren't like you could walk around, but like it looked a lot like my home does now. My kids' toys over off in the corner of our living room. Our table has a couple of my kids' books on them. We have none of the chairs are pushed in. Our sink is empty because our dishwasher is full, but there are blankets strewn all over our couches. Like my home looks like I remember all of my friends' homes looking in the 90s, and none of them looked like the pristine images we saw in magazines or that we now see rampant on social media. And so I realized that there are a lot of messages coming at us from social media, from media itself, saying, you know, if you stay at home, your house has to be in perfect working order, the house has to come first, all these things. There are so many little messages that your family and your kids have to come first and it has to look a certain way. But the reality is, especially for those of us that are neurodivergent, which I work a lot with neurodivergent moms as well, our stuff is not going to look like everyone else's. Our systems are not going to look like everyone else's. I am actually going to be doing an interview with someone next week where I share my story about how my system got created in our home, a system that doesn't always make sense to other people. They'll look in our mug cabinet and be like, why is there children's medicine in here? This is weird. It's in our kitchen. It's in our mug cabinet. I don't know. It fit. It made sense in my brain. That's where it is now. My paper system doesn't make sense to everybody. But I worked with an organizer who specializes in ADHD moms, and she helped me lay the groundwork for a system that semi works for me better than what I was doing before. And that's what matters. And so, for those of us that are neurodivergent, our houses are going to look a little different. What's comfortable for us is going to be different than other people. And what's comfortable for me is not going to match what's comfortable for another person with autism or ADHD. Another mom is going to come in here and be horrified by how I've set up my home. And that's okay because it's my home and it's the home that I have to live in and that my children have to live in and that my husband have to live in. But I also work a lot with chronically ill moms. This is a different category of disability, of how we function in the world. And that's another thing that we have to think about. I have to have room in my kitchen for my walker to move around because I actually use it a lot of times, actually less than I probably should, but I use it to help me cook sometimes because I can't stand for long periods of time. Um, I usually am working with a heating pad. If my kids are at school, I don't work at my desk. I usually work right here on my couch. Things like that. We have to set up our homes in ways that work for us. And so that justification of time, I know that was a little bit of a tangent, but that justification of time doesn't align with how we're going to be able to function in our homes or what we do in our homes because I'm not going to go unload the dishwasher before I sit down to work. One, I have a meeting in 10 minutes. So I have to make this quick, but I have a meeting in 10 minutes. I also have a client later today. I'm not, obviously, anybody out there would be like, yeah, of course you're going to put those things ahead of your housework. But in between this meeting and my client, I have an hour. I'm not going to spend that hour doing all the little tasks that I can see around my house that may, could serve me to get them done. I'm actually going to do admin work. I'm going to do creative work. I have a goal of writing a piece of poetry most of the days from I started about a week and a half ago for most of the days for the rest of the year, just an individual piece of poetry. I'm going to focus on things like that. And Wednesday is a day that I just do less work around my house, in my business. It is a rest day. I've built rest into my work because that's how I have to function as a chronically ill ADHD person. So when we justify our time, it burns us out because what if it's not enough? What if what I'm doing in my business today, a meeting, a client, and some admin work, what if that's not enough? What if someone's like, oh, you were so lazy today? Oh, all you did was read all day. Oh, all you did was do video games or whatever it is. This justification of time is burning us out. It's making us not only do things, but also keep a record of them, but it's also keeping us from the soul work that is creation. It's keeping us from hobbies that might restore our creative drive. It's keeping us from just sitting down and having a day where we just engage in the creative process or we just engage in hobbies that feed us. It is keeping us from what we love because we have to justify being productive in a society that says you have to be productive. And if you are a work from home or stay at home mom who is self-employed or running some kind of indie creative business, it is telling you that what you're doing isn't enough because you have to keep up with your house and your business is just this little side project you're working on. We have this narrative that plays in our head that starving artists exist for a reason and that's just a little hobby that you do, that it can't be your real work. But the reality is this is the real work for a lot of us. A lot of us are making income based on those things. I've barely marketed my book this year, and it's going to end up being one of my highest selling years. Is that a lot? No, it is not. Don't get me wrong. I am not making livable money from my books. But what I'm saying is my art is bringing in money. And the more that I start to really feed into that, the more money it's going to bring in. So when we start to take it seriously, that this is really the work that we're doing, and then we stop feeling like we have to justify our time to other people who don't understand, who aren't supportive, then we get a lot less of that burnout. It reduces our burnout. Now, if you're wondering, why are you talking about this in terms of burnout? In my coaching arena, I coach moms on how to live burnout-proof lives. I've walked through burnout in creativity, in motherhood, in my therapy practice. I know what that looks like. I have learned how to differentiate it from depression and anxiety and how those kind of morph together. I actually talk about that on a podcast I will be guesting on. I think she's airing it sometime in January. When she does, I'll post the link. But I've been there. I know the burnout. So here's the thing. The reason I'm talking about this in terms of burnout is because there are some unexpected contributors to burnout that we don't think about. And this justification of time is one of them, because what it's causing you to do is to feel like your business, your creative endeavor that you are using to build and build so that it can one day support your life, or maybe it's already supporting your life and it's still feeling heavy. This need to justify yourself in a productive society in terms of capitalism and in terms of the American system or the global system at this time is contributing to burnout because it's causing these layers of dissatisfaction and questioning of your time and your attention. And in that questioning of your time and attention, it is not allowing you to feed into the thing that you enjoy the most. So what I do is I have a program that is a asynchronous hybrid program. It's a very unique program that walks moms through how to burnout proof their life, find their ideal rhythms that allow them to have balance, and to reclaim their identity in motherhood and creative business so that they don't feel like they're drowning all the time, so that they don't lose their damn minds. That's what I'm doing. So that's why I'm talking about this in terms of burnout, because your justification of your time is contributing to burnout, or it can contribute to burnout. And so that's why I'm talking about it in terms of burnout. And so if you've gotten this far into my ramblings of the day, one of the things that I'm doing to help me not burn out is I'm trying to reconfigure how I do content. And one of them is just kind of bridging it all together. This is my first attempt to do that, but it's also just doing it without a lot of thought. Just, oh, I have this thing I need to talk about. I'm just going to jump on and do a quick I want to call it an episode, but I started on YouTube. I do most of my stuff on YouTube, but this is also going to go into podcast. So I don't know what you want to call it, but I'm changing up a little bit of how I do it, what it's being called, all of that. And so this is the first step in that. And that's how I'm helping me not be burned out, but also I am giving myself permission to create without justification, to create without having to give a play by play of my entire time, to build up something that is values aligned with me that I don't have to justify to everybody else, and know that when my husband comes home, my husband is a great support. If you have a partner who does need that justification, I I'm sorry. I don't have a way to advise that at this moment. But if you have a partner who doesn't require the justification, I promise you the rest of the world doesn't need it either. Your mom doesn't need it. Your therapist doesn't need it. I promise we don't need it. We love when you spend your time doing hobbies and not justifying your time. So I promise you, your therapist doesn't need your justification of time. Your coach doesn't need it. Your kid's teacher doesn't need it. Nobody needs the justification of your time, not even yourself. So I want to set you free from that today. You don't have to justify your time. If you have a partner that does require a justification of time, try to, one thing I could say is maybe try to connect with them on why this is so important to you, why this creative process is so important to you, and what your days look like and why they look the way that they do, and let that be okay. And if they're still not accepting, that's a different that's a different thing altogether. But nobody needs your justification of time. As a stay-at-home mom, a work-from-home mom, a working mom, you, especially if you work for yourself, you work from home, you're in an indie creative field, nobody needs your justification of time. Um, and so do with that what you will. And I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.